Seawold, and this is Authentic Parenting, a podcast about personal development in the context of parenting, where I explore how you can find more calm, connection, and joy in parenting through the process of self-discovery and inner growth with a trauma-informed lens. I'm a parent educator, and my mission is to help children by helping parents. The motto of this podcast is raising our children, growing ourselves. Today, a solo episode. What your children need most from you. There was a question posted by a group member anonymously in our Facebook group recently in the Authentic Parenting community. And I thought it was a great question because it has many great points that are relevant to many parents. So I decided to do a short episode, answer this question in a general way that is applicable for other parents as well. I want to offer some thoughts and tips, and hopefully it will be useful for you as well. I will read the question in full first because I want you to hear how this parent wrote the question, what was going on, the context, the emotions, what was said, how it was said. And then I will read the question line by line and deconstruct and offer some ideas, tips, suggestions. And then I will offer some general suggestions, not only for this family, but also how to speak to children, how to coach them through their emotions when they're having difficult moments. I have some great ideas that I've been helping other parents with recently, and these are themes that show up again and again. So I think doing this episode is going to be beneficial. So let's get started. Here is the question. Hi, Anna and everyone. I need some advice. We took the kids to the zoo yesterday, and my 10-year-old daughter pretty much became super excited. Not a good way. The minute we entered the zoo, talking extremely fast, loud voice, with lots of emotions, she would call me, Mama, Mama, Mom, see this. And then 2 minutes later, Mom, see that, constantly. So I asked her, how much of this is in your control? Can you tell me? I feel like you're doing some of this on purpose. She said it's half and half. So I asked her to please try to at least control the part she's doing on purpose. I want to say that worked for a bit. Then we went to the lions. I was texting my dad, so I wasn't there. But apparently, one of the lions had a bird in its grabs and it was eating it. She came out crying, sad, head down, and I asked what happened. So she told me, the bird is not going to see its mother again. Why does it have to be like this? Do you see why I want to be a vegetarian now? So my husband told her to stop it. I said, okay, let me take another avenue, which doesn't come at all natural to me. But I'm trying. So I said, with my arm around her, I know you're sad and you wish the bird was free, etc. But that's the nature cycle, etc., trying to validate. She starts crying more, loudly this time. People are looking at us, as she's the only 10-year-old crying. Actually, I only saw kids under 4 crying yesterday. No one her age. So then my husband gets upset with me saying, you're normalizing abnormal behavior. You should ignore her more. You're paying too much attention to all her moods. She has many of them during the day. Most of the time my reactions are scolding, not validating. But yesterday, I was doing something different. When I scold, he gets upset and says I am paying too much attention. When I validate, he says I am paying too much attention and normalizing whatever random thing she says. We have other kids in the house and we're all tired of you two arguing all the time. It's war here almost every day, he said. My daughter said that she appreciates the validating, but I really don't know anymore. I feel like I don't know how to parent. Maybe I am paying attention to all her moods too much. I told him, fine then, I'll let you parent and I'll get out of your way since apparently I don't know how. If I get upset, it's wrong. If I validate, it's wrong. So I'm going to direct everything to him. Go ask your dad. Sorry, I needed to vent. That's the end of the question. Then some of us asked clarifying questions. Some of us offered some suggestions. And this mom posted a short update. So let me read the update as well. It gives a bit of clarification to the story. My daughter has no issues at school. She's online this year and never have we heard anything from the teacher about her behavior. Actually, to the contrary, she's been recognized multiple times. Actually, not a single time she's been scolded by a teacher since she has been in school. So my husband says if she had an issue, the teacher would have seen it. She was overtired yesterday, and that's why you need to let go and not pay attention to her. I didn't realize, but it turns out she hadn't had a good breakfast, no liquids, just a cheese wrap, and perhaps she was hangry. And I keep thinking she is a highly sensitive child, and so the entrance to the zoo and seeing all the commotion got her going. My husband says because I have anxiety, I am finding all sorts of things in my kids when I just need to let them grow and be who they are without saying they have this and that and respond to that issue. Be kind and loving to them, that's all, and don't normalize abnormal behavior. So that's the update. So let me offer you some thoughts. First of all, I also would love for you to think about this question. Most of us can relate for sure to the frustration of this family, experiences that they went through. This is a very common situation. Also, the way they handled the situation is very common, right? So what stood out for you in this story, in this question? I would love to know that, you picked up a few important points here, that they were very visible and palpable about this child, about this family, about how they treat her, talk to her, respond to her when she has big feelings or just in general. And so I want to read almost line by line and offer where I think is, there are important points to make. So number one, when this mom updated her post, it's clear for us now, we have an information that this child is a highly sensitive child. We also know that, she attends virtual school. It's not fun, right? Virtual school is difficult. There are a lot of challenges and demands. The pandemic has been a difficult experience for many families. And I am assuming this outing, going to the zoo, is a big deal after the long pandemic, being stuck at home and having not experienced many social outdoor activities. This must be both stressful and exciting. And we could see right from the beginning. And the good news is this mother recognized that about her daughter, that she was overly excited. So I want to jump to this point. After she was saying, Mama, look here, look there, the mother said to her, I asked her, how much of this is in your control? Can you tell me? I feel like you're doing some of this on purpose. I think this is not a helpful question because it tells the child that she has control over something which in reality she doesn't. Those of you who've attended my class on behaviors, the why of challenging behaviors and the how-to of dealing with them, I talk about behavior, regulation, dysregulation, the red zone, the green zone, the blue zone. And this child was already in the red zone, right? We saw the clues, the signs, talking extremely fast, loud voice, overexcitement, hyperactivity, jumpiness, right? all of those things we saw. And asking her, how much is this in your control? I think it's not a helpful question. You may challenge me on that. But especially phrasing it like, I asked her to try to please at least control the part she's doing on purpose, right? I'm not sure if I would use this phrasing. And of course, the mother continues, I want to say that worked for a bit. Of course, the child has no control over her body, over her nervous system, what's going on inside of her. She can't control that. It's involuntary, and it's just an overactivation of her stress response. And it could be a positive and negative stress combined, right? The important part comes when they were at the Lions. This mom writes, she came out crying, sad, head down. And I asked what happened. So she told me, the bird is not going to see its mother again. Why does it have to be like this? Do you see why I want to be a vegetarian? This part is packed with great information. First of all, this child was already crying, which is great. The valve was open. She was sort of releasing that overexcitement, that buildup of energy, right? Oftentimes, children use a pretext to cry about something. It's not about the something usually. It's deeper than that. They bring up pent-up feelings, pent-up emotions. It's sort of an excuse, a reason for them to cry about their pent-up emotions and bring up stuff. And there's no need to know why, what happened, the reason. She has emotions, she has feelings. Can we create space and be with her in this moment? That's the main thing, that we want to be helpful to our children without shaming, guilting, and all of that. And she was already crying. That's great news. Oftentimes, children are mad and angry about things. And you've probably heard me saying you want to bring your children from mad to sad, because it's a lot easier for us to be compassionate and loving and be with sad emotions than with angry and outrage and rage and those kind of emotions, right? It's very difficult. She gives us two pieces of great information, which I would love for this mom, for this family to explore, not in this moment when she's crying, but later, at home, days later. The first one is, the bird is not going to see its mother again. That's packed with powerful information. She's a 10-year-old girl. And I want to be a vegetarian. This is why I want to be a vegetarian. There's nothing wrong for this child to want to be a vegetarian. Has this family discussed it? Have they tried to help her? Have they taken her seriously? Have they minimized or ignored or invalidated or made fun of her wanting to be a vegetarian? I want to know more about this. This is important, especially if she's a highly sensitive child. Then we get to the next point. So my husband told her, stop it. This is classic, right? This is classic. And of course, no judgment. We've all done this. Public parenting is its own animal. It's hard when people are watching, when your 10-year-old is crying or your toddler, it doesn't matter what's happening. All you think about is, I'm failing as a parent. Why is this happening to me? What's wrong with my kid? What's wrong with us? Other people are looking, they're having a good time. Our family is always like this. You go into this red zone yourself. You become dysregulated. And of course, your thinking part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, you can't access when you're swept by that kind of stressful event and emotion. And so you're going to be unreasonable in your actions and in your words. Here is what I like about this. I said, okay, let me take another avenue, which doesn't come at all naturally to me, but I'm trying. My heart goes out to this mom, right? She has 3 children and she's trying very hard to be a different parent, even though it doesn't come naturally to her. Amazing. It doesn't come naturally to many of us, but I just want to say congratulations for even trying and remaining on this path of growth and parenting differently. So I said, with my arm around her, Great, great, great. I know you're sad and you wish the bird was free. This is powerful. This is wonderful. And this is on the right track. But that's the nature's cycle, etc. Trying to validate. This part to me is now not important, not useful, shall I say. Explaining the child why she's going through this emotional moment, that it's the nature cycle, blah, 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 this is what happens, not necessary at all, because we're missing the bigger picture. We're invalidating, dismissing the child and her inner experience. I think if this mom would have just stayed with this child, her arm around her, and just said, you're sad and I wish the bird was free, it would have been enough. Be present, stay with that, let your child express her feelings, and it will be over in 10, 15 minutes. Believe me, you don't need to solve this situation. This is not a problem. Or no explanation, no justification, reasoning is necessary. She doesn't need more information in this moment. She starts crying more loudly this time. Of course, right? You're dismissing her feelings. She's going to cry loudly. And if she's crying loudly because the emotions are escalating, which is again a normal thing, right? We start slow and then it peaks a little bit and it drops down again like a bell curve. That's also normal and anticipated. Here is the part that is very important. People are looking at us as she's the only 10-year-old crying. Actually, I only saw kids under 4 crying yesterday, no one her age. So then my husband gets upset with me saying, you are normalizing abnormal behavior, you should ignore her more. First of all, we see in this question that there is tension between husband and wife about behavior, discipline, handling emotions. And in general, they have stark differences in how they view things. I'm not saying one is right, one is wrong. We need to hear both of them, right? But there's nothing abnormal about a 10-year-old crying. This also is telling us about expectations, about shame, right? My child is the only one crying. I would examine my ideas about crying in public, being the only one crying. These are important things. There shouldn't be shame around this. There is no age limit for crying. We cry because there's something painful happening. We want to signal to others to generate emotional support. We've done a fantastic episode about tears and crying with Dr. Odd Vingerhoits from the Netherlands. I'll link to that episode in the show notes. There is nothing shameful about children crying. A 10-year-old crying, a 4-year-old, there is no age for this. Then the father says, you're paying too much attention to all her moods. She has many during the day. This is also an important point here. Moods are different than feelings and emotions, right? I don't want to invalidate this father's statement. There's something to it, right? We need to take information and understand. If I were to work with this couple, I would try to hear both of them, because the father has something to say when he says, you're paying too much attention to all her moods. What's going on there, right? And again, moods are different. Of course, moods come and go. They change frequently, and we don't want to hyper-focus on every mood that our children are in. Then for sure we will create moody children. We don't want to absorb their mood. We don't want to stop their moods. We just want to be neutral, just like the weather, right? Let it pass. But feelings and emotions are different. And yes, we need to coach our children through this process so that they will be resilient, emotionally intelligent, so that they will be with their own emotions and know that there's nothing wrong for feeling sadness, frustration, anger, fear, all of those feelings. It's a whole process. And I'm not going to address it in this episode. But the distinction is important too. And another thing is, yes, some parents, because of their own anxiety, their own fear, their own worry, they do try to micromanage the emotional climate of their household, meaning the emotions of everyone. They want everyone to be happy, but it's outside of our control, right? What's in our control is to support our children, to create emotion-friendly households, to talk about emotions, share, not shame our children. That's important. Welcome their emotions. And I'm going to share a few important things later in this episode about that. How many of us, minimize, dismiss, threaten, and do all the wrong things except to create emotional safety, be present with our children, and just simply help them move through emotions. Here is another important part in this question. Most of the time, my reactions are scolding, not validating. But yesterday, I was doing something different. This to me is a red flag. You're in public, you haven't tried this is not your go-to method. It's not going to work. You're not going to feel good. Your child is going to feel like, what's going on, right? I wouldn't try something new and expect it to work, number one. Number two, if my go-to is scolding, when I'm doing something different, my child has this anticipated experience of me already, right? It's the cumulative experience that matters, not what we do once in a while, right? So I'm going to say a few things about positive and negative interactions with our children, but I want to finish this question first. We're almost done. When I scold, he gets upset and says I'm paying too much attention. When I validate, he says I'm paying too much attention and normalizing whatever random thing she says. And it seems like they have other kids. There's always a war. It's important that we separate our worries, our fears, our concerns, our anxieties, our problems from our children's. Is this my worry or my child's? Is this my fear or my child's? Is this in my territory or this belongs to my kid? Is this my problem or this is my child's problem? These are very helpful questions to orient you in those moments. Then this mom says that her daughter appreciates the validating. Of course, it feels great. She feels seen, heard, right? Visible. That's key. That's important. But then the mother says, I don't know anymore. I don't know if I'm a good parent, how to parent anymore. Because there is tension and disagreement on discipline and parenting in general between this couple, they both feel frustrated, right? And this is also a classic move that a lot of parents do. If mom or dad feels helpless, they say, go to your mom. Or they say, now you deal with that. Right? We all have done this. I raise my hand because we feel powerless in the moment. Nothing works. We don't know what else to do. And our partner comes with this, what feels like criticism and doesn't offer something helpful, right? Because they also don't know. They know that something is not working, but they don't know how to help the situation or how to help each other. I think not losing the perspective that you are a team and you're working together for your children, helping your children is key. When you slip into this me versus you mode, which we all do, it's really important to reorient, shift our perspective right away and say, listen, I'm sorry, honey. I think we're blaming each other, pointing fingers. We're a team. How can we help our daughter right now? That's what matters. So I think I want to offer some helpful tips that hopefully will be applicable to all of you. First of all, the behavior. What's abnormal? What's normal? There is no such thing. Behavior is a powerful form of communication, and there is always a reason why our children act out, do certain things. There is a root cause, underlying need, or reason for children's quote unquote bad behavior, challenging behavior. If you would like to take that class, that is a recorded class that I taught live in March and April, that's available for sale for $29. You can go to authenticparenting.com/behavior. And it will completely change how you view behavior, misbehavior. You will learn about the nervous system, the stress response, regulation, dysregulation, how to help your children to come out of the red zone when they go into this dysregulated zone, how you can read the signs when they are about to enter into the red zone, and what's required of you in terms of regulate, relate, reason, the 3 R's. It's a fantastic class, and I would love it if you can take it with your partner, especially who is parenting differently than you, who has different approach and ideas about discipline, behavior, misbehavior, and all of that. So that's number 1. Number 2, what's the ratio of positive versus negative interactions that you have with your children on a daily basis? Especially if you have a highly sensitive child, especially if you have a child on a spectrum, especially if you have a child, with ADHD and all of those labels, right? A different child, an intense child, a challenging child. We tend to fall into negative patterns. We tend to see only the negative. We tend to scold them incessantly and want them to be better. We focus on what's not working, what they're not doing right. And I know this from working with parents. Once you shift the ratio of positive to negative, you will see a huge shift. Children want to feel heard, seen, visible, right? And they want to feel that they're doing something good. And they are doing a lot of good things. But many parents fall into this negative space, and we always emphasize the negative. We talk to them negatively. So here is an exercise that you can do for a day or for a week. Get Post-it notes. And every time you interact with your child, say things to them, ask things of them, etc. Put a plus sign on a sticky note if it's positive, and put a minus sign when it's negative. Put the Post-it notes, stick them somewhere on the wall visibly. And at the end of the day, count. Be honest with yourself. When our children do something positive, we really need to emphasize that. For example, this morning, my daughter got up without prompts on her own, and she was not late for school. She got ready and everything was great. Most parents miss this opportunity to emphasize, to see the goodness, to see the efforts, to shine a light on the positive. Most of the days when my daughter gets up late, we fall into get up, the negative, you're always late type of cycle, which is not good. So we need to be mindful in what we see, in what we emphasize. Can you minimize the negative and sort of emphasize and accentuate the positives, right? It's important. If this child is feeling in this question scolded by the mom all the time, what's her inner reality? I'm not welcomed. Whatever I do is not good enough. I'm a bad kid. I can never get things right. All I do is wrong. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. No one loves me. My parents always scold me. I am bad. This is the type of pattern that's going to form in this child's psyche. And how is she going to feel about herself? Confident? Competent? Of course not, right? When we feel bad about ourselves, we tend to make more mistakes. And it's just this cumulative experience that matters. So change the ratio of positive to negative in your household. Be aware of it. Pay attention. And maybe I'll do another episode about this and just go through different examples and scenarios to really drive this point home. But for today, I have another thing to say about how we tune into our children's feelings, how we do so many unhelpful things, except what we really need to do is just be present, show up and just listen, right? It doesn't require much, but it's so difficult. What we do instead is we dismiss our children's feelings. We lecture them. We threaten them. We scold them. We ridicule them. We minimize their feelings. We ignore their feelings. And on and on. There are a variety of ways that we use. And I can raise my hands. I'm familiar with all of them. Why? Because I've used them all. So let me give you an example to illustrate this. Let's say two siblings had a fight. One took the toy and the other child is upset, right? A very common situation. I'm going to offer you some statements. And before I tell you what it means, I want you to sort of guess what the underlying feeling is for the child on the receiving end. So the child number one took the toy from the child number two. And the child is complaining to the mother, and this is the mother's response. And I'm using mother, it could be a parent. I don't want to get into an argument. A parent response. Come on, it's not a big deal. What does the child feel in this moment? Can you guess? This is an invalidating response, right? It's not a big deal. Come on, it's not a big deal. But it is to this kid, right? The next one. So what? You do that to him all the time. This is also invalidation, dismissal, right? The next one. Stop complaining. If you continue, I'm just going to take your phone away for a week. Can you guess what it is? I think I'm hearing you. Yes, it's a threat. It's a threat. The next one. Oh my gosh, you're such a crybaby. Mommy, he took my toy away. And you got to give me credit for my acting. After all, I was in a drama club for many years in school. What is this response, right? It's like, again, invalidating, minimizing, making fun of this kid, ridiculing, calling a name. It's just a mixed thing. It just doesn't feel right for the child. You and your problems. There's always something with you. Right? This is like, I'm tired of you. That you always have problems. But here is the thing. What does the child take away from this statement? And it's not like we say this statement once in their lifetime. This is how we parent from day in and day out. All of us can recognize in those statements, and some of us have our own default style. A parent who is always criticizing and scolding may not ridicule the child. That parent whose default is to ridicule and minimize, may not threaten as frequently, correct? We all have our own sort of dominant style. But imagine as a child going through your day-to-day experience, and what is your cumulative experience about yourself based on your parents' interactions and feedback about you? Ouch, right? I'm not trying to make you feel bad about you or your parenting. I make those mistakes myself. Trust me. But we're all working together. These are difficult topics, sometimes uncomfortable. We become self-conscious, but we need to bring them to light, address them, and hopefully we can change the patterns. The next one is, what's wrong with you? You're such a drama queen. Can you guess? Yes, it's shaming. It's shaming. What's wrong with you? Ouch. That's a horrible statement. Next one. Can't you see? I'm on the phone. Brushing off the kid. I'm busy. I don't have time for you. I'm ignoring you. The next one. Okay, forget about it. I made some cookies. Let's go have some cookies now. Distracting, right? Distracting the child from their own inner experience. This is something we all do. Well, distraction sometimes could be useful, right? And of course, you can challenge me on all of those points. The next one, go to your room and calm down, and then we can talk. It's like isolating the child, like, I don't have anything to do with you. Those were some examples to inject a little bit of humor. You need to have humor when you're parenting. But here is what I would say. What every child wants from their parent is just one thing: to be seen, heard, and to be visible. Meaning, when they have an inner experience, they want you to accept and see that inner experience for the truth, for what it is, for that it's real and valid. That's what they want. And if I were to put into step by step, which many parents love, I would say this: it's a 3-step process. Step number 1, can you see and acknowledge your child's experience, inner experience, for what it is, without judgment, shame, criticism? Just neutrally observe and acknowledge. And you can just say a statement like, you're crying because the lion ate the bird. That's the reality of this child. You don't know anything else. So the parent has to be a mirror for the child to look into and see their reflection and learn something about them, right? And this has to be a repeated experience. Can you be a neutral mirror for your child, an objective, neutral mirror, and not a distorted mirror? That is the key to successful parenting. There's no need for you to convince your child out of their feelings, convince them or talk them out of their feelings, or minimizing, dismissing, or doing all of those things, fixing their problems to make them feel better. We all do this extra thing that is not necessary. Can you just see the child's experience for what it is and just acknowledge with one sentence? Step number 2 would be, can you be with that experience and not do any of those harmful, unhelpful things that we all do: threaten, dismiss, minimize, judge, criticize, threaten. Can you refrain from doing those things and just be with that person, with that child, and with that experience? No need to change their reality, no need to reject their feelings or change or do any of those things. Can you just be? Step number 1, can you see your child's experience for what it is? Number 2, can you be with that experience? And number 3 would be, can you connect to that experience? Now, if you can't, that's okay. I understand. But if you can, it yields amazing results. It's really powerful. It's transformative for you and for your child. So there are 4 things I want to mention. Children usually have thoughts, desires, needs, and feelings. And the 3-step process that I'm talking about applies to those 4 points. Your child may say, or let's use an adult example, right? I say to my friend, I just got the 2nd dose of the vaccine and I'm feeling really sick, like it knocked me down. And the response from my friend is, I'm going to my friend Marcy's 60th birthday party. Whoa, what? It's a dissonance, correct? It's like, wait a minute. What happened? Like, we're talking about different things. That's how children feel. They feel unheard, unseen, misunderstood, big time. And this was not a feeling. This was a thought that I expressed, right? Most of the time, that's what we do. When a child has a thought, my friend pushed me on the playground. We try to change that for the child instead of just seeing the experience for what it is and being with that and just hearing the child talk about this thing. Or when a child has a desire, a child may say in the middle of January, in the middle of winter, the child may say, I want to eat watermelon. It's just a simple thing. The parent might say, there's no watermelon in winter, and they would start like some kind of pattern. And then the child will get agitated, angry. Now, it depends on a child. It depends on a parent, right? It can take a different turn. But if you see the child's experience, the desire for what it is, and acknowledge it, you will avoid secondary power struggles, right? You can say, wow, watermelon sounds great. Where did you get that idea? In the middle of winter? That's a fun idea. Or it's cool. I wish we can have watermelon. And it can open up a different conversation. Or if a child says, I want a hoverboard for my birthday. You're a bratty kid, ungrateful. It's never enough for you. You always want. Oh, you can go that path. You can ignore. You can say, no, not now. It's always something negative, right? But if you be curious and say, wow, a hoverboard? Can we, what is it? Where did you get that idea? Let's watch a YouTube video. I've never heard of a hoverboard. Show curiosity. Join in the kid. See, acknowledge, be, and connect with it. Simple as that. The child afterwards will feel seen, understood, heard, that his experience is real and valid. What he's feeling, what he's thinking is real, is valid, is true. You're the mirror. You're showing it reflection back to him. And when the child grows up in this kind of environment, they know who they are, their authentic self. But when we do the opposite, the child feels disconnected from themselves, because if somebody always questions your thoughts, your feelings, your needs and desires, they're trying to convince you out of your feelings, minimize, dismiss, threaten, invalidate, judge, shame, criticize, basically non-acceptance. Basically, you feel rejected. Basically, as a child, you feel unimportant, unwelcomed, unloved. You disconnect from yourself slowly. And when you're an adult, you don't know what your needs are. You don't know what your thoughts are because you were never able to form them and express them because they were never welcomed in their raw form. You were not allowed to think freely, because your parents were always controlling what you have to think, how you have to say things. But when it comes to feelings and needs, this is even worse, right? This is even worse. Can you be a mirror for your child? Now, I can go on and on about this, but I want to eventually end this episode. And hopefully this has been helpful for you. Reach out to me if you have questions. Join our Facebook community, our amazing Authentic Parenting community on Facebook. Again, if you want to work with me, you know who I am, you know where to find me. And as a listener, you always get 10% on all my coaching services. I would be thrilled and overjoyed to work with you, as I have worked over the course of 6 years with countless podcast listeners. And it's been just an immense gratitude and joy for me to connect and help families. You don't need to do this alone. I can help you, or others can help you. Reach out, go to authenticparenting.com/services and go to authenticparenting.com/services and contact me. I would be happy to help you on your parenting journey. I hope this was helpful. Let me know which one of the topics resonate with you more. What's your takeaway? What do you want me to do a deep dive on? And don't forget that I have this great class about the behaviors, which can be found at authenticparenting.com/behavior. I hope this doesn't sound very salesy. And until next week, connect to the present moment, to yourself and your children. I am Anna Seewold. Thank you so much for listening.